you mentioned, okay, no serving of any kind. So it's not, you mentioned cocktails, but you're discussing or creating cocktails outside and selling them, and you are allowing other people to do so, right?
It's to enrich your home bar experience.
Right.
So, yes, you have to bring them home to consume them. Unfortunately, I can't serve on premises. Hopefully the laws may change soon. I'll be educating you guys about what that's coming soon. But yes, you can. Sorry?
Tasting?
No tasting. Yeah, no taste. So nothing, I can't serve anything. But we're going to look to do some events with some local bars and restaurants to do some education and partner with us. That way you can come back to the shop and buy some things. So.
How did the other bottle shops do?
You have to have a bonded, separate bonded space. So, sorry, beer and wine you can do on premise.
Can you do like wine tastings on site?
I can't because I sell the sales very
You really want to keep trying. Be creative.
Sorry? Because they're only wine. Also spirits. But we are designing a space that we're eventually going to have an area where we can do tastings, assuming the law changes in the next 5 to 10 years, hopefully sooner. So there'll be some space that we can have those kind of events. Jim, yeah, do you follow only or no growlers? No growlers at this point. We just don't have the space for it. We'll look to do that maybe in the future as we kind of get an idea of what we're going to do. Right now, there's some 2-year coolers that we're going to stock, and like I said, putting those in the southeastern years.
Does Daniel think you're competition? I guess not.
No, I mean they're pouring and we're selling. So hopefully we're more complimentary. We'll get beer there and come buy some more.
Also, Daniel is no longer the landlord because they sold the dealer to dealer before.
So, I mean, we're going to sound like a question. I love the concept that you're showing. Do you need any sort of window protection to prevent breathing?
Yeah, so we're going to get a film, like a thin film that basically goes over the inside of the window. It's clear, and it prevents any shattering of the glass for around 10 minutes, basically. Like the videos online, like somebody's having like swing a sledgehammer through it, like multiple times before the glass will break, and the alarm will go off, and by that time we're hoping to deter them from trying to get anything. We'll be a cashless facility, so it's only credit card. So there will be no cash on premises. The only thing that they could potentially take is bottles. When you do that, they have to like back a truck up and go right on, North Highland, which is busy at all hours of the night. So I'm not really. We're hoping that that can deter anybody from trying to. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let me know what you want. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Stop. Depends on how much you bought. That's cool. Yeah.
I have a question about parking.
Yes.
You mentioned 2 15-minute stops in the parking lot. Are those for Elemental? Or are they
No, they're for both.
15-minute?
They're 15-minute parking for both us and Manuals. Manuals just launched their Uber Eats, and they're doing more takeout. So it was us being able to sort of share that 15-minute spot. And then if you just saw, we just talked to the construction manager. They just did the new crosswalks across North Island, and that Williams Mill will open up hopefully this weekend. And so it'll be easy to access both Manuals and us from the parking lot.
Do I agree with what you said? So how high end is this thing? Can I get like a chicory there, or
Yeah.
Like, is it only like a pure weird?
No. There'll be
like 40 or something.
basically, again, think about like what you would want to make a cocktail with. We'll carry product like that, and then we'll carry out things nice. We'll carry down. It's just going to be more towards things that you want to put in your home bar.
We have shrubs and things like that.
Absolutely. And then lots of frozen cinemas and interesting.
Sounds like Any other questions?
I'm just trying to hear the concept, it was kind of cool, but are you guys also offer like classes that people maybe like people can learn how to make?
Yeah, and that's, so again, we can do some of that on site, but obviously we can't afford on site, so that's why most likely we'll partner with some bars and restaurants around the area, do some content making classes and education things, and try and find them here all at the same time, trying to see how they taste differently. Those kind of things are, I think, really important to experience and something that absolutely. Because trying to create a community and sort of foster that community about people that are interested in new and fun things that are coming in the spirits of the world. Excited.
It sounds like most of this is all self-built, but there's going to be some cake.
No cakes. I mean, if you want to, honestly, if you want a special order one, we can actually, yeah, we can get that from our distributors. But we don't have a refrigerator to keep it cold, so it would have to be like same day.
No. All right, let's try. We're ready to vote. So first we'll vote on the distilled spirit. So we're voting on letting supporting elemental spirit serving distilled spirit, and selling, not serving. And a reminder that this is why we need the legislation to be able to do this. Everybody raise your ballots in support. Let me give you a rise since the last time. That was on the county. Did you sign in?
Yes.
Okay, so you should have a
Yeah, go over there and get a white card. Sorry, guys. Ed, you know better.
Just
I'm
make
gonna
sure
call
you're
you out.
Make
I'm
sure you're
calling you out,
signed.
man.
You have to have signed in. So,
Okay.
and as you know, you have here. Anyone else who hasn't followed the rules? Okay. All right, now we've got 43. 43 in support. Any opposed? Opposed.
Are those arms going up or anything, or y'all like bring on to them? Okay.
Any abstention? All right. It looks like you support elemental spirit. Spirit, yay. Okay, and now we're going to do malt beverages and wine. Same thing. If you support, please raise your ballot. I'm not fine. I'm getting exercise too. I'm moving the
Oh, no.
Okay. Good job, everyone.
Oh, wait a minute. That was 4.
That was 4.
Yeah, sorry.
And now,
We don't want to cut
again, anyone again? Any abstentions? All right, so 43 in support, 0 against, and 0 abstentions. We welcome elemental spirit. All right. So our next application. So the next, we have a variance request for the property at 571 Linwood. And as some of you know, most of you probably know, if you've ever done a home renovation in Coffee Highland, that you often need a variance if you're doing almost anything to your house, because the setbacks, the existing historical setbacks in the neighborhood are really different from the setbacks that the city of Atlanta put in place in 1982. And as we were discussing this last night, for some of you who were there, nobody really knows where city of Atlanta. So people end up having to come for variances. So this is the Kaiser family, Jason and Rachel, and their architect, Dave Price. And they're requesting a variance for their side and rear setbacks in order to build a new house. And they are also requesting a variance for their lot coverage. And Dave's going to tell you a little bit more about that, and then I will tell you a little bit about how land use evaluates the application. So first, I guess, before we have this, we're going to have a motion to vote on 571 Linwood. Do I have a second?
We have Dave Price, Vice President of Design. Oh, that's great. I think Rachel is going to take around the site plan so you can see it. I guess I mentioned that we could do a PowerPoint, but I didn't realize how dark it was. But the whole reason is you guys can see the existing footprint of the house that's there now is in red, and then the new house is in yellow. So you can see that it's pretty much within the footprint of the old house. And Rachel's going to walk around so you can see it. So they're moving over from Cabbagetown. They bought the house with a plan to go up to the second floor, but found that the foundation of this house was built on this open cell clay tile that is really used for partition walls, like bathrooms in elementary school back in the 30s. And it just wasn't made for actual foundations. And so they have a letter from a structural engineer saying that this house is just not, again, it's disintegrating already, and you definitely can't get a second floor. So we're going to have to demolish the house, and we're already in the process for getting a demolition permit. And so what we're trying to do is build a new house that's compatible with the neighborhood. This lot is substandard. It's not supposed to be, it's supposed to be 9,000 square feet, but it's only, let's see, 7,696. And it's supposed to be 9,000 square feet. So it's already meeting that hardship that you need for the city. But even at that size, you're allowed to do a house that's 50% of that size, which would be 3,848. But we're not looking for anything that size. The house that we're talking about is 2,739. And it's a 1.5-story house. You kind of see it in these elevations. So here's the front elevation. It's 1-story brick house with more space upstairs underneath the roof. So it's a little over 2,700 square feet. And the maximum that you can do in the city of Atlanta for the height is 35 feet. But the way that the city calculates it, this house is 23 feet tall. So we're 12 feet under maximum height. Now, as you can see in that site plan, we're actually narrower than the existing house. The existing house is 2.2 feet from the north property line. We're moving to 4 feet from there. On the south side, it's 6 feet from there, and we're moving to 9.5 feet so we can get that driveway built on. And there are 9 lots on the block face on that side of the street there, and in 7 of those, I think it is, there are driveways that go up the side of the house, so all of the houses are kind of pushed off to one side. And that's just kind of the normal way that it's done in Monte Island and all of the town. And so that's what we're asking for the side setbacks to be reduced for. There are also, in 5 of the 7 houses there are garages in the backyard. And all of those, you really can't see it. I have a picture somewhere, behind there. All of them are non-conforming also. They're too close to the side setback, or they're into the rear setback. And most of you know that the new rules now allow for an ADU or accessory dwelling to be 4 feet from the side and the rear.
we're not asking for a special dwelling. We're having upstairs, but that's Jason's office. So that's one facet of the variance is that because we're asking for kind of a smallish, house, for what we could have done, we have to ask for that percentage of the, that you would normally be allowed to have your accessory structure. We're asking for that to be higher than what we normally ask for. We're going from 30% to 37%. And let's see, are there any other parts of it? Our floor is exactly the same level as the existing floor, so we're not trying to push up the house at all. There's no basement underneath, it's just on crawl space. One of the things I wanted to mention was that there is a possibility in the future of having historic regulations in the area. And I think that we matched most of those already. We are asking for the rear setback for our accessory structure to be 5 feet away and 2 feet from the side. I think that the new historic preservation district, if that happens, it's 3 feet and 3 feet. We're asking to go as far over to that side just for the garage because there's a large tree on the other side of the rear yard. So we need to get as far away from that as possible so that we can keep that impact. So that tree is low as possible. I think it's 14% right now. So I think we're doing pretty well on that score. So I think that's it for my.
You want to talk about previous?
Oh, yeah. So we have we're doing a little plunge pool. It's 7 by 15, I believe, in the back. Without that, we would be right at 50%. But with that, because it has a little pool deck around it, it's pushing it up to 55%. 55% is what the hospital historic regulations would have allowed, but we don't have that in here yet. So we have agreed with the neighborhood that we will do a non-compactable gravel area in front of the garage. So that takes our actual impervious coverage down to 50%. Now the city still counts it as impervious, but we all know that water can go through, and so the actual impervious coverage is 50%, which is the max.
Any questions?
I was understanding that the city often, if you do replace, new or replace, they use 1,000 square feet, and that was the limit on impervious, and they count your building structure as well as whatever other impervious services you have. So they're not having adhere to that 1,000 square feet.
So I can comment to that. The city is still doing the calculation the same way they've always done it, but what the land use committee made as one of their conditions for this is that we wanted them to be below 50% impervious coverage on the lot, and the city would allow them to apply for up to 60% impervious coverage. In other words, they routinely grant that. In our neighborhood, we don't want to routinely grant even over 50%. So what we did is we asked them to use impermeable materials so that by our calculations, they use only about 50%. Does that make sense?
It does address the 1,000 square feet.
Okay. I'm not sure I understand.
I don't understand that.
Well, what we've been told by the city is they weren't looking at percent, they were looking at new or replaced impervious surface. Couldn't be more than 1,000 square feet without mitigating that in some way.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about. So that's the water quality management, and what that is.
Green infrastructure.
Yeah. So all of the rain that lands on the house and I think it's the first 1,000 square feet of your driveway and the part of in the garage, all of that's going to be collected and put into an underground chamber where it slowly kind of percolates into the ground. And so we will have that, and that just like any other new house in Atlanta, you have to have that. And so right now, all of that water runs out in the street and into the storm drain and then on into the streets. So the first inch and a half inch, or not inch and a half, inch 22 of rain that falls on that area, gets turned into a volume, and that's the volume you have to have underground for storage. So that is another way that, it's a shame that we have to tear this house down, but that's an advantage that the neighborhood gets out of having a new house, is that you have to have this underground water retention down there, and that's a great one. A lot of it kind of mitigates a lot of the problems.
What material is the driveway? Is that impervious or is that?
Yeah, it's going to be regular concrete. There's going to be a strip of grass up the side, like we've seen on a bunch of the other houses on that side of the street. And but then once it gets past the rear porch, that's when we have our gravel area. It's not just like a regular gravel. There's actually like a matrix that is inside that. It keeps the gravel from migrating, and it also keeps it from compressing down. That's why the city counts it as impervious normally, is because when you drive back and forth over it 1,000 times, it just gets crushed down so hard that it is functionally impervious. But in this case, that matrix keeps it loose, and it also keeps it in place.
You got to take down the trees.
Yeah, there's a tree in the back. It's a, I don't know the size on it right now, but there's a large tree in the back that we have to take down. It is 39 inches. So there's a big tree behind the existing house back here. So here, that's the end of the existing house, and that's the tree that's getting taken down. There's a dead tree right here that's getting taken down, but it's already dead. And then we've got a couple of smaller trees over on this side, close to the garage that needs to be taken down as well. We are keeping this 22-inch hardwood up in the front, and then there's a couple of large boundary trees over on this side, and that's why we're pushing the garage over to the south as far as possible. One of the conditions that we have agreed to with the land use committee was that we would go ahead and put a chain link fence around these instead of the regular yellow tree fence. So that's going to keep our, all these other trees are going to be under 20% impact, but we want to make sure that they remain under that 20% impact during construction. So we're going to put a chain link fence up instead of just a regular plastic fence.
And that's something that's specified by the city and also signed off on by Red Levine, our very own local tree management expert. So that's the best way to protect the trees from this equipment and from people thinking that's uncomfortable with the water. And they can also use mulch during the finished layer of mulch and then regular irrigation during the periods of drought to keep the trees healthy, because it is stressful for the nearby. And we also recommended that we could make a decision that they work with a certified arborist. We gave them the names of two of our favorite certified arborists that they can work with to make sure that they're taking every care possible to preserve both the trees on their property and the trees on the neighboring property by either hand tunneling under roots, put utilities in, or putting utilities next to the driveway and doing all those things. They know how important actually can be to us.
Yeah, and Arbor Guard has already been out, and it's also, utmost importance to them because they want those trees to live, so there's a safety issue for them instead of just a canopy issue. All of that is very important to us.
The presentation is nice, but it's not. Just from a certain way. And I'd like to see that the title is nice, unless they're in fashion. They don't have to do the things that they're doing, they just want to do them. The thing that we want to say is that if we've already a lot, that's what we're going to make.
Yeah.
Here, I'll find a way to, I'm not going to discuss that here.
easily access. Furthermore, there are things on my property that are going to talk about that down on my lot, not on this lot. They think it would truly go offensive to a lot like, still there's a lot of stuff that is actually, still there's a lot of right next to that house, it's probably makes a good group of doctors, 18 trying to recruit. There's another tree that's just a woman, 14 inches, that is going to flower right now. I just, it's inaccurate. I mean, they show trees that are there, okay, that's great, but I think this tree won't get to put the block, that's what it's on my side. But that's not taken, you get to the block, inside setback, as they are, not, and he even told the setback, this is the on the side of the property. You see, you can setback. You just don't want to. I want people to understand, it's real true, because that is skinny, it's the first one, it's not there.
I've seen the arbor report, and so I can't, I would have to walk out there to Jerry and see how what you're saying there is.
Exclusive lot in the current setback, 17 to 50 feet, does it go over 20% of the roof system of the large tree on bottom top? I know that. So,
Is that tree shown on your right tree?
it doesn't show, it shows the tree. Which tree is that? Tree in the back corner, of the property.
He shows the tree and he shows the impact zone,
Yeah.
and it shows 14% impact, and that's based on the arbor calculation.
Correct. So if you put the tree within that actual, without requiring any variance, you put the garage without any variance in that area of the backyard, not require any variance, and not go over the 20% of the tree. Doesn't need a variance for the garage 2 feet from my property. To have a garage in the backyard with an ADU. He doesn't want it that way, if he wants a bigger backyard for himself, he wants his 2-story garage with an offset of it, 2 feet from my property, on top of the roof, I'm approved my tree, it's not true.
Well, the actual reason we want to put it over to the side is because that makes it easy to enter into the garage and to back out. There's no space to turn around to go out, so they're going to back all the way down that space to go out.
Is there a requirement that say that they turn around?
No, and we're not providing it. So they have to back all the way out into the street. So we want to be able to go out of the garage and back down the driveway without having to really crank, hard to get around the house itself.
That's my expense, right, I realize all that is my expense, and by the way, then the precedent for the house, 2 feet from your property line, the garage, the people are going to 2 feet from my property line, and the house is 5 feet in the back of the other property line, that 15 setback. There's also a staircase that goes behind it, so if you're only 3 feet going up the back of the thing, and the next to the guy behind me, that's it.
Yeah, so we did move the stairs to the other side, into the yard that you're talking about, our yard there. And the precedent for that neighborhood has been set already by all of the other rear yard garages that are already there. There are, like I said, 5 garages back there that are all non-conforming. They're all moved over to the side. So you can see why. Most of them are 2-car. I think I did see one of them was 1 car. I don't know how tall they are. I haven't measured them. I haven't gone back and seen them. We're not asking for an ADU.
I understand that, but do they have a office above it? Or are they just a 1-story garage with a roof on it?
I haven't been back to see them.
Right now, current city regulations
I
allow.
know what they are, and that's not what I'm asking. You're the poster development, I understand. I'm not against development. The question is there any requirement, can they place that garage on the lot without going with somebody else? And they do?
Yeah.
Okay. There's no reason to have to do it, they just want to do it that way. It's sort of their yard.
The reason is so that we can get to the garage.
If you put a garage on the other side of the yard, they can get to the garage.
If we tear down the 38th Street.
The one that's the current planning on tearing down.
No, this tree, this is a very large.
That's not on their property, they don't consider that to that.
Right.
They're not tearing that tree down, they're trying to protect the roots. The tree they're tearing down is this other very large 39-inch hardwood that's right behind the house. There's no way to save that one. It's covered with ivy. I don't know if any of you have ever looked in the backyard there. It's not looking great. I mean, it's a very big tree, and there's just literally no way to do this kind of construction or any kind of construction coming
That's
in.
not what I'm talking about.
And I'm not a proponent of anything, I'm just trying to share with everybody the details of that, I'm trying to make it a little bit more clear.
The question is, let's understand here, if they can't place that garage on the other side of their lot, 7 feet from the property line, 15 feet from the other back property line, there's no reason to have either. They just want it.
But if,
So that would,
if
that
they
would
move
definitely
it,
destroy that
if
tree.
they move
The other
it
side,
here,
they want to protect that tree.
it's,
And the other 14% of that tree.
okay, this is,
Right
we're
now.
gonna have to take this discussion offline, I think maybe, but if they move the garage here, they would have to put more pervious surface in order to drive into it. So they would be paving over most of their backyard to do that. So, and
What they're putting right now is putting it over the roof from the tree of my tree.
from what I understand, because this one is on the wall, I mean, the arborists have looked at this plan, so, and they signed off on it. The other thing that could happen, I mean, just to spin out the scenarios that could happen is the house that they're building is much smaller than what they could put on this lot, right? So they could build out to the whole footprint of the old house, which is this red line, and they could go up 3 stories.
Okay.
You don't
Well,
care about that.
the issue, I know they can do a whole bunch of things, so, and I pointed it is that they don't have to do it. They're tearing the house down, there's no setback, they bought a lot. So you've got a lot. The question is, can they build a house with a 3-story, 3-bedroom house, and that they can't go on it? Without going over the setback? The answer is they can't, they just don't want to. You're setting a precedent for how tear down happens. They don't want to. Everybody doesn't like how much help they can get, regular garage can be, but with the pool can or can't be, get the pushing all that to the next door neighbor.
And in a minute, we'll have a discussion about how we can solve those problems with management rules and things that will address what we all.
The city already has it, this whole thing with requiring the variance is the rule, that's part of the rule.
Well, and the reason that we need variances in our neighborhood is because none of our setbacks conform to the regulations of the regulations.
No,
Jerry, I so appreciate your comment.
You're turning the house down, there's no setback, there's a setback in that. You have a lot, this house is torn down, right? Torn down, there's a lot for you. You don't have any, you can't tell them you can't build a house and sit it on there, they just don't want to.
Well,
That's good, no one here, they don't want to.
it would look odd,
Why?
because all of the other houses are shifted over to the side, so that the driveway can go up the other one side. That's the way that almost all of the houses are in Funky Island, in Virginia Island, all over town, that have these 50-foot lots that are less than 70 feet. I don't know why 70 feet was ever the width that they chose to put on these R4 lots, because most of them aren't 70 feet. And when they decided that it was gonna be 70 feet, they decided that those side yard setbacks are gonna be 7 feet. And that just doesn't work for the 50-foot lot.
You're saying it doesn't work as long as you have it, doesn't it?
Okay, I
It
think,
doesn't work in the neighborhood, in the historical pattern of the neighborhood.
let's let someone else have a question. We understand that, Jerry, that you're not in favor of this, and that I'm going to try to reiterate your main concerns are the damage to, the possible damage to your trees, and the fact that you don't want that, the accessory building so close to your property. Is that all, have I gotten all of them? All of your main concerns?
That and the fact that it is 9 home, this one will block is not going over. I have a house that doesn't do it, it is a setback. That is far back from all the setbacks, it's right next to it.
Okay.
The 3-bedroom house, they need to bring a business, they have to do more living space and more than to create volume to reduce the volume from the first floor to the second. That can be done, it's a choice.
Okay.
The choice of the character of the entire neighborhood, the choice of where it is like to do our project, in terms of building a new house on that lot and go on it. Well, that's just their one. And in fact, they can use the garage and business spot that less impact to the neighbor's street, not because one that they have, because one they have, to do the leave all the trees on my property. Conveniently, because that's the garage of the place.
Okay, I think we've got your point. Dee, did you have a question?
I had a comment, what comment is about the driveway and the around, and we have it at a certain place, and we can store I had the same problem, I went to us, but I think on my driveway, took it, and it, you know, it has to allow for that. I set that on the side, and you change the driveway, and you don't park right, you don't put it straight down, park that fine. Well, maybe for me, I back down my driveway, so that I can go forward on my driveway. That's a solution, really, doing it better than anything. My question is, I live 2 doors down from the house, and we bought our house a long time ago with the deed, and since we bought it, we sold that property, with the water running down. So, water comes down the yard, and we didn't realize we bought the house, so we just walked it, so we carry all this excess water, we can all the other properties. So we go down and use down on driveway. So what you're doing is sounds to me like we might have more than one problem, and don't want that to happen. I understand you're going to have this gravel retention area that's not going to prevent the water from leaving your yard and then continuing to go down to the next drainage yard and then down to our yard. So I'd like to see something that addresses that so that the water goes to the yard and that your pool area doesn't run down the hill to the park. I'd like it to go out towards the street.
Yeah, and what happens is that with that water quality thing, all of the downspouts are collected underground. So right now, all of the water is going probably down
So that's
the
not the
hill.
water in the back yard. That's the water that's hitting.
Right. If there's water from this side over here, that part would go down.
That's what I'm doing. We're not addressing that problem.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere else, all this accessory structure, this gravel area right here, all the water's gonna get collected right there. And then all of this other area would be collected up in the flood. And then when that, fairly large volume gets filled up, if we have more than an inch of rain, in a day, basically, it will, go out a overflow pipe that goes out to the street in that case. And that's what the city allows. But there will be much less water that is coming off of our line down the street. Now, there probably would be water that flows from other neighbors onto our line and then flows on down across, to your line because there are neighbors that are up higher than us as well. So we're getting water from our neighbors as well. So we can't completely solve the water from all of the neighbors going down to that backyard. But we're definitely relieving a lot of the water that you're getting right now, at least from this house. Because right now there's nothing holding the water. It all just goes out. There's nothing directing the water anywhere. So what I'm saying is that all of the water that goes onto our roofs and goes into those underground pipes are going to go first into that big retention pond, and then even if that gets filled up, then it's going to go out into the street after that.
So would you grade it so that it goes forward and not down towards the street?
Well, like the front yard, that's already sloping towards the street. So that area up there, yeah, it's really just this little strip back here. And I don't know how we can get water just from the grass area back here all the way up. I mean, I guess we could put a couple of area drains in and. But, I mean, we haven't talked about this. This is not something that I have heard of before just now. They've been around in the neighborhood, but
I guess, one question.
we could probably use that.
The plant's been shown on this topic, the adjacent neighbor for that,
Yeah, you guys want
Sure. Yes, we have spoken with Megan and Ryan. They were out of town, but I sent them the plans and they reviewed them. And then we met with Daryl and Brian on Sunday and sat down and met with them and went over all the plans and the exterior. And then we
we talked with Jerry multiple times, and gave him the most current plans this past Sunday. The only other neighbor kind of touching our property, would be Bob Duckworth, that we haven't been able to get in touch with yet. Right, that's what we heard. We've tried calling, knocking on the door, texting and sending a certified letter, but haven't been able to reach him yet. That's what I heard, yeah. So hopefully we can touch base with him at some point to relay all of that.
I think we're setting a dangerous precedent to have a 2-foot setback. I think that's ridiculously low, and I don't think that's something we want to deal with and just carry on and rebuild. And I kind of agree that they could move the garage over. Yeah, not everybody gets the privilege of a straight driveway. It's just the way it is, you know. And if you don't like that, then move the garage over further and have a back out towards Jerry's house and then come down the driveway front way if you want it back. I don't think we should have to.
Yeah, that would be a lot more like that if we did that. So it's.
Well, you could use impermeable pavers. There's lots of ways you can address that.
We're using gravel.
Well, gravel's not considered, as you told us, permeable. So there's permeable
this stuff
pavers,
is
and there's
actually-
other things that you can do to have that coverage that you need if you want to back out and do it.
And if we move it, the further we move it over, the more we're going to get into the tree roots of the other large tree. Now, if we talked about a little bit before that we could shift it over to 3 feet, reasonably easy. So I think we wanted to make that a condition with the land use committee and with all of you all. That would be fine. It's a little bit more of a.
Has this plan been reviewed by the public? That's one of the departments that we sign off on, the plan eventually.
I've not heard of the fire department being a part of that. I think
We working come up with super areas, or I don't think it's under water, houses, where, yeah, the EPA actually approved it to feet, and fire department got a hold of it and said, we can't put a fire from 2 feet. They go to the 3. I can't remember whether it was garages or whether it was infrastructure, but that is also another consideration, is you have to get a firefighter back there 2 feet and not be done.
Well, like I say, we can go 3, if that would help out. There are fire separation rules as far as what kind of materials you use, so we have to have a 1-hour wall from that area. That's within 5 feet of the property line.
No, my question is
Yeah, it'd be fire range.
One question, so you said the main house, or you mentioned 2,700 square foot, is that in the office?
That does not include the office. The entire accessory structure is 964.
Is that including the garage?
Yeah, that's the garage and the office.
Top and bottom?
Right.
So, is that in line with the rest of the street? Square footage, the 2,700 plus?
Well, there's a variety of houses along there. On the corner of North and Linwood, there's a large 2-story, big house there. And then there's another 2-story house that's 2 in from that. But then most of them are 1.5 stories, which is what we're showing.
So roughly the same square footage?
I don't know what square footage on those are, but I'm looking at the height. So I don't know what the square footage on those other ones are. Like I mentioned, this is the back of the existing house, the red line. This is the back of our proposed house. And this is the front of the existing house and the front of our house, along with that. So we're not asking for a large house.
One of the things the current regulations do with ADUs, which this is not, because they haven't put it, one of our advantage members asked if we could make it a condition that they had to make it an ADU to provide additional density. But one of the current city regulations on ADUs is that if you have an ADU as opposed to just an accessory building, that the portion that is the ADU, the livable portion isn't counted against your 30% of your house. So right now, he's working with the regulations that say you build an accessory structure, not just a building, that it can be 30% of the size of your main house, right? So but they need theirs to be about 37%, but if they actually needed an ADU on top, then that portion wouldn't count anyway, while we need the garage portion, they count it. That makes sense.
Also, if we did the maximum size house, would be.
And they could build a bigger ADU.
That 30% would be much larger, than what we need for a accessory structure. Maybe like a 100 square foot, accessory structure would be.
So they would have to build a bigger house to get bigger.
Yes.
What happens is we get that side house, and run around that. And we just compare everything to a one story small scale, local roof to a 2-story house. That's the bigger house. Not just I don't care if it's big. I don't care if it's big or not. I don't care if you build it 50% of the garage is full. I'm opposed to you building over that. I'm opposed to building over choosing my property. I don't care how big the house is. You can build a week if you want. The first thing you can do is your square footage is what you do. Just choose not to do.
Thank you so much, Jerry, thank you for your comments. We appreciate them. I really feel like we've got to honor everyone else that's in this room. And EL, do you have a quick question?
Sure. It's more of a suggestion than a question.
Sure.
There's been a lot of issues raised tonight, and this is the first time a lot of us in forum. So to evaluate it tonight and make a decision, I think it's so difficult when it's very first time we've seen. So, Jerry hasn't been like addressed with the entire issue that's been raised. Linda talked about the impervious versus the impervious material. We talked about what we do to dispose of the land and the exchange. There's a lot that it sounds like actually needs to be reconsidered with it. So perhaps what we need to do is get time for the neighbors to be contacted. Can we work something out? I mean, it would be great if we could work something out, everybody could come together and we can move forward in agreement rather than trying to move forward and develop a compromise tonight under a stress timeline when this is the first time a lot of us have seen it. So I'm making the suggestion that instead we defer this for a vote and suggest that if you use it defer, come back, give us a month to work it out and see what else can be done, and then come back and vote on the next month.
I believe that, the Kaisers have spent many hours, in the neighborhood talking to people. They talked to Jerry several times. And I think Jerry's made it clear that there's nothing that's going to make him happy on this. So.
We're meeting that.
What would make you happy would make other people unhappy because of the tree would have to go away. Or they have more luck.
Everybody.
Okay.
So we know you're.
It's a lot. Okay.
Okay, so this is the normal way that we review the variance applications. This is how we always do this, where it goes to the land use committee for review. Sometimes we have applicants go back to do more work, and they've done that in this case and made changes that were suggested by the land use committee. And then we bring it to the board and we bring it to you guys. So that's the normal process. It's not the normal process that we put applications out for the whole community to review ahead of time. If that's a process you want to change, that's a conversation you might want to have. But that's not the way we've been doing it for the years that I've been involved in the association. So I think you're all making good points. And I think we're ready to vote. Or unless you would like to, so we can't force an applicant to defer, we can only suggest that they defer, and it's up to them to do a chair. Oh, wow.
Can we hear what the language came up with? We haven't heard the recommendation.
Sure. So the land, help me out, there's the land use people here, if I leave anything, and Jen, you want to talk about what the land use committee talked about?
I think the main point that we had were the impervious surfaces, and originally the driveway and that would be solid, and they changed that to gravel impervious surface, correct? Correct. And
And one of the conditions was that the rear yard would be 5 feet, which is a change that we had already mentioned that we wanted to be anyway. And then also the chain link, tree fence. Everything else. And like I said, we're willing to move over to 3 feet, just to avoid any problem with fire. With that.
I feel like there's a precedent for this.
There will be.
Yeah, no, it really doesn't.
It wasn't for the area, so I don't know if it's
Yeah.
not, but we're very welcome to be, but I guess.
We're going to.
Hello? Okay, so I make a motion that we vote.
You already mentioned it.
So I call this.
With the.
Need to amend it.
We need to amend
amended
it.
condition that they
So I'm making a motion that we vote to add an additional condition on this variance to move the setback to 3 feet here. So we have the conditions would be 3 feet here, 5 feet here, and 4 feet here. So, and then they've already got the 9 feet on this side. 9.5. And then the tree protection conditions remain as they were, in addition to the previous surfaces that they're adding in the back. Okay, so everybody want to support this variance application, please raise your card and specify the count to keep them up in the air. One more time. That's the county line. She's always right. So that made sense. Thank you. Okay, so that's 25 in favor.
Those not in support, please raise your hand, your card, whatever, so I can reach in count.
That's 8 opposed.
Any abstentions?
We had one absentee ballot. So that's 25 in favor, 9 opposed, 5 abstentions.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Welcome to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Really are.
All right. So, does anyone have any energy left for something else?
Go for it. Oh, Lord.
So, the next thing we have is an SAP application, so that's a special administrative permit for a building, a proposed building within the Beltline overlay. We don't actually get to vote on this. Our opinion doesn't really matter that much. We do get to offer comments. So usually these have a 21-day window for comments, so they often don't even come to the neighborhood general meetings because like if you got this application tomorrow, for example, the comments would be due before we come to the neighborhood meeting, and often there are things that are small enough that they don't really need the whole neighborhood to have a look at them. I wasn't here at this time, but I understand the last time that there was one that the whole neighborhood had to look at was the Kroger 725 Tom's application that people were asked to comment on. You're not in your head, you remember all of that. So that's what an SAP is. And so who reviews an SAP? The Beltline Design Review Committee have to look at it, and they make comments and suggestions, they get changes. We have 21 days, and then Suzanne has 21 days to write us the comments. And the City of Atlanta Office of Zoning and Development reviews it. The applicant doesn't come to land use to this meeting or to this meeting. These are the designs. So this is Chase Bank, and this is proposed for the current Rite Aid site. And you guys may remember that Chase Bank wanted to come before on Ponce, and this was proposed initially at the site of 881, which is the Tudor building at the corner of Ponce and Barnett. And we were able to stop at that time because there was a sports building in the mix, and we were able to get that declared a landmark building site. Apparently, they're still very eager to have a Chase Bank on Ponce, and so they're back again with this application. So that's what the proposed building looks like. Yeah, I'm going to get there. And so this is the site plan, and so you can see all of the parking that remains here. So this is the 881 building on the left, and then the proposed Chase Bank on the right. So all of that parking kind of remains there on that site for all of the hundreds of customers that will be coming to Chase Bank every day. So they're asking for 3 variations on the Beltline overlay. So the Beltline overlay actually is a quality of life overlay. It has a lot of regulations that talk about how buildings interact with the street and what kind of planning you can do, with the idea that you get better quality buildings and a better experience on the street by the buildings that are built near the Beltline. So one of their variations is to reduce the amount of window coverage that they can have. So this is what they're proposing for the window coverage, and they're actually required to have more than that on the facade of the building. The other one is to decrease the supplemental zone, so this is that space where they have benches or trees or sidewalk coverage. Beltline DRC approved both of those. And then the last one is to keep their driveways curb cut. So the Beltline overlay, the way it works is they don't want any car traffic coming off of major arterial roads. And so normally you wouldn't be able to create a new curb cut to come into something like a Chase Bank on. You'd have to come around off the Barnett. But because they're existing curb cuts, it looks like the Beltline Design Review Committee is okay, but they asked them to reduce them to 20 feet. And they have, subject to GDOT approval. So one of the tricky things about Ponce is the GDOT road. So just because the city or the neighborhood wants something to happen to the thing, it will, GDOT also has to get involved if they think that that would work for them. The Beltline Design Review Committee approved that reduction with the reduction, and then they have asked the applicant to evaluate the maximum parking requirement to see if they can reduce the amount of parking here. The Ponce Island Master Plan, the Beltline overlay, the Moreland study, pretty much all of the zoning people in the city think we shouldn't have this kind of parking This is the product of old rules that is the reason we have all of these parking lots in Atlanta, but you have to have a certain number of parking spots for a building, and I can upload a video. You guys also watch about how these parking regulations are kind of explored out of the topic. But it's not desirable to have all of these spots, especially when it's a one-use building where there's not going to be a lot of car traffic. So that is something that the Beltline Design Review that they've asked for, and that they'll have to come back and respond to. So the land use committee is opposed to this proposal, and we're going to be writing up our comments as to why that is. And the main reason is because our master plan specifies that we want buildings that are, that we would love to see buildings on ponds that are, at least 2 stories high to 4 stories high, with active space on the bottom for retail, that the building would take up more of that, the street front, to create a more inviting walking experience, is we can see some protect the walkability in our neighborhood. So that mandate buildings with minimum width, provide a minimum height of 2 occupied stories, so not a 8-story up above, but 2 actual occupied stories, promote ground floor retail, and to promote architectural excellence. So something that actually contributes to having our neighborhood rather than tax on it. And I guess it's everybody's personal opinion about which that proposed design is doing. And then we also ask for sustainable parking standards in our master plan and development overlay and in the Orland study to reduce the amount of excess on-street parking that we have. And I don't know if any land use members want to speak to the other issues that we have with this, but basically, from the perspective of the Ponce Island Master Plan, the Ponce Orland corridor study, the Beltline overlay, and the city of Atlanta, no one is in favor of a 1-story, 1-use building on a major thoroughfare in Atlanta. It's not the best use of that space. And the urban planner who is in charge of this project, I've spoken with him, make the ground, if anyone wants to give him a call. This project was filed the same day that our previous interim control went into effect. And so it should have been covered by the interim control, which would have meant that it would have gone to review by the Urban Design Commission. So they would have been able to put in to help kind of foster changes to this proposal in terms of the, I don't know what would have happened, but they would have had to comply with the height that was the minimum height that we asked for, the parking, all of that, was review. But I think as some of you know, and all of you know, the interim controls are no longer in effect. There was an administrative issue with the petition, and so that's all been put on hold. Those interim controls are gone. So we lost the ability to have the UDC respond to this on our behalf. So pretty much all we get to do at this point is offer our own comments about the plan. So I do have the full plan set up here. It includes a tree diagram. They're required to put 1 tree for every 8 parking spots. One of the things that we can do is ask them to use native trees. Right now they're specifying crepe myrtle, which is not something that's desirable. We've got suggestions on what trees might be a better substitute, and we can make those comments. We can make comments on those 3 areas of variation, how we feel about them. But I think what I've heard from the city that they would like to hear most from us is how we feel about having a single-story, single-use building on top, and that's something that we can express very strongly. So I don't want to take up a lot of time in this meeting with this. You can come up afterwards and fill out the comment cards. Their index card, you can write your comments, you can look at the plan, and we'll be submitting those to the city planner as part of this application, and then that will also go back to the planning.
Regarding the comment cards, what type of information should we put on there in addition to our comment to make it most effective? Like name, address, anything
Sure.
like that?
You don't have to put that. We'll just if you'd like to put that, we can certainly add that information, but they'll just be looking at the overall comments. So what we'll do is we'll write it as a comments from the land use committee, and then we'll add all of the neighborhood comments to that.
Okay, so anonymous is fine. Sure. The kids own the site now.
They don't. So they're well, I don't believe that they do. I don't think that they get a conditional on this.
It's kind of an eyesore right now, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
You just are allowing other people that after. Parking, you don't really have.
Well, the parking here is open for this one. It's not all parking.
So you're saying that they're not,
So no, it's pretty sure that this will go through in some form or fashion, that we don't really have, there's no way we can stop it. We have a chance a little bit there, but we don't have that anymore. So that's the way SATs work. They're not asking for any variation. So they're asking for variations. They're not asking for variances. So that would come to us as a zoning application, but this is just. In this particular case, this application is going through under the current Atlanta is working on to change that. For the corridors, we were working in the neighborhood, or some of there's a group of people in the neighborhood who are working to change that. The city planners, a lot of people don't want to, so, including the Beltline overlay, the sub-area of San Francisco, and also, this is not ideal to the state. Yeah.
I just wanted to make an observation. I don't know if we reached out to Chase yet in the neighborhood to contact them directly. It's my understanding that Chase is an excellent community partner, and from the perspective of what else might have gone in there, Chase can actually be very positive, very good on the neighborhood. He usually tends to get back to the neighborhood. And so I would just encourage us to have a reach out to Chase yet. Maybe we want to do that and foster a relationship there that we grow, help the neighborhood a lot.
Sure. We would have loved to have seen him Chase Bank on the bottom story of the slightly bigger building. And Chase, they have not, this application has been in the works since March, and they did not reach out to the neighborhood. We only learned about it right at the beginning of the on August 20th. Or actually a little bit after that, when we got the application in the mail.
Do they specify what they will do with the parking lot when they're not open?
As far as I know, it's private parking. When Rite Aid was there, that was the case. I don't know if they'll be moving or if they're going to put in paid parking or what they're going to be doing. That's something we could talk to them about, putting in paid parking. I doubt it would be just public parking.
So I know that the grand vision for the city is for our major corridors like to be these dense commercial mixed use corridors. I live in townhouses just behind Rite Aid. The existing Rite Aid parking lot is vastly underutilized. I've lived there for 18 years. I've been in the neighborhood for over 20 years. It has been vastly underutilized. So to see the parking expand even further is extremely disappointing. This does nothing to contribute to the street experience. I too would have liked to have seen something vastly more dense for that site, to better utilize that site, to get multiple retail tenants at the ground floor, of which a small branch could have been, like the Wells Fargo that went in by Whole Foods. So I'm extremely disappointed to hear this, and disappointed to hear that the city is in a place that, despite that they have spent this effort to create these long-term visions, that they have no ability to have input in this process.
Water, like in the new building, where they have to change the water. The reason I'm asking is I was down there from
Yeah. We've got a river in our backyard too. It's a problem all over our area. We're built on top of springs. Anyone remember seeing the historic photos from the now I had 1889 that shows the springs, and I marveled at how all the lots on Blue Ridge, the last one sold was right on top of one of the springs. That's how I wonder if that's what it is. I'm gonna write that down.
They should have to.
They should have to provide it. It's not.
Downhill. It is now.
And that's part of the problem with just the overall.
You know, how to increase the impervious surface.
I mean, that, they haven't increased.
If they don't disturb the site, they wouldn't make it weighted.
But they are changing the pavement when they built the building, and you can see they're reorienting the parking, and you can look, I don't have the, I should be thinking of the drawing in my phone, they just have them digitally. But these are tree wells here. And they're reconfiguring the spaces, like the orientation of the spaces is different because the Rite Aid building was back here, right? Like it was farther down. There was parking in front too, so they're moving the building. But again, it's not something that, these are all things that we can make comments about, but
I don't want to make this longer than you. A quick question though.
yeah.
Since the land use has come up with the comments, could we just have a quick vote to see who's in favor of reinforcing the comments that you've already determined?
I haven't written them all up yet.
Well, how do you have them on the spot?
And
like the historic district that they're trying to give us more, like, power to say, hey, I mean, this is what we want, this is what fits in. So we would have more say, because it sounds like the city doesn't have anything to say, and no matter what we have to say, doesn't really matter. Would that change things?
Well, if the interim regulations had been in place, then this would have had to go to UDC for review based on what they were, and they specified that you had to have a certain height for the building system, and so the regulators now would have been higher than the building, and the building width was also not. And but if we ever embark on a historic district exploration again, we can talk more about what we would like the pond corridor to look like, and that includes for a lot of people. I don't know how many of you were at the presentation that Caleb did last night, just having the wider storefronts and the more pleasing street experience and higher density. But all of those things are things that, if we have regulations in place, the developer would have to comply with. So Chase Bank could have still had their bank there, but they would have had to put it in buildings with at least 2 stories high, with 2 active spaces in each, and the parking would have not been like it is now. So that's just
Can we, I'm with Beth on that. I think we should have at least a show of hands for here that we agree that we ought to oppose it.
okay.
That's what I think.
Sure. All right, it's not an official land use matter, and that way we can certainly have a
I'm
vote.
just saying you can add it to your letter.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
That's one question.
sure.
So, in the possibility there's like a future historic district, with Conklin Island Historic District ordered by, we call it the same outline authorities.
Yes. So the Beltline overlay would still be in place, but what we would likely put in place would be the higher level regulations. They have to comply with those, but ours would be the ones that were first. They're complementary. So, and a lot of I think in the interim regs that you guys got in your packets, which are no longer valid, a lot of the rules, the regulations for the interaction with the city, all that were taken from the Beltline overlay.
Okay, yes.
Just a question, do you say what doesn't be further?
It does not go to NCU. So, we are the NCU. So in this case, just correct me if I'm wrong.
The applications have a 21-day review comment period, so there's no guarantee that you're gonna have a neighborhood meeting, a board meeting within that 21 days. So it's a much expedited administrative process. Typically, the Beltline reviewer is making comments relating directly to the Beltline regulations, which in this case, they completely ignore. Which is disappointing, and I understand there are people in the city that are very disappointed about it as well. I think the only other person we talked to is probably here. I don't know if he, even in that big group like this, I don't know if he has any push in it, but I think for him understanding what's happening on his front corridor within the Beltline gives him ammunition. This is very, like, the Chase Bank has been trying to put a bank in the table for years. This is their second go around with the Beltline SAP. The first time they had a drive-through with space in the street, which is completely prohibited, it pushed all the way back a lot, it's prohibited. So they were shut down by the SAP process, supported by 21 days of comment from then in the neighborhood. Somehow, the Beltline committee is not.
And there will be letters sent about that. And the city, like I said, is also not happy about this. But the city isn't at the point right now where they can say, nope, this isn't our vision for the Constellation corridor. So we're all trying to give them what we can in terms of the also not what our neighborhood wants. It's not one of our master plan, corridor study, not one Beltline overlay, it's kind of divide the Beltline. The design of these committees is supportive of this. One has to wonder if there's money involved, there's nothing really else we can think about that for my personal. So do you want to
us to show our hands, or just you want to do that?
I have a question, point of clarification. Did you just say that you wondered that money is involved, so the outline committee, you should support that? I just want to give you the chance to clarify that.
I wish that could. Okay.
Just to be clear, so isn't this actually really their third attempt, like with this? Because there was first the attempt at a drive-through, then there was the attempt to tear down the 81, the Barnett building, and now this. And so as an attempt to be a partner in the neighborhood and be part of the community, it seems like they are repeatedly trying to put suburban solutions in an urban setting without any real communication to hear what the neighborhood wants and to be part of the community. So again, I'm not opposed to a Chase Bank in a building that is appropriate to the neighborhood in a setting, a storefront setting the way that Wells Fargo did their small branch.
I guess one question, so I think it's eBay.
Yeah.
So has anybody actually tried to, or is it possible to talk to somebody directly with Chase and say, hey, we want you to come into the neighborhood. We'd love to have you here, but can you do it in a way that will be beneficial to the neighborhood? I don't know, it's just that, I wonder if that direct conversation might be beneficial. Maybe that's optimistic.
We can't really have that conversation, so we can send them a letter and try to contact. They know that our neighborhood is not in favor of a single story single use bank. We've discussed it several times, and it's not something that our neighborhood wants to do. I can certainly reach out. There's a 21-day comment period on the SAT, so that's the process we're working with. I talked to a planner today, he said earlier. So when the SAT is done, so it was stamped at the city on August 29th, but the date when you start counting the 21 days is when it's postmarked and mailed, and the applicant has to mail it to the neighborhood, so it's based on that date. So I had to find out what that date was, and then talk to them about okay. Any other questions, or we'll do a quick vote about how we feel about just a vote about our opinions, whether we show of hands, thank you. I was looking for this for my number of finance about whether or not we are in favor of the Chase Bank, one story. Not really the Chase Bank, to be clear. The Chase Bank, you don't have a problem. It's the one story, one meeting on time. We'd love to have a Chase Bank, the building is more than if that's something that we're our neighborhood.
Are we voting that we agree with the land use opposing the proposal? That's what I thought.
No, so I think the land use committee has already noted that we oppose the proposal, and that's what we'll be putting forward, that we can add the neighborhood, numbers to that, either way.
And are we going to vote on the elements you have here, or just across the board? It doesn't matter.
I think let's just do it, we're doing it across the board.
Okay, this is just to reinforce.
Reinforce, if you think that we should have one story single-use buildings on farm. So this is, if you think you should have one story single-use buildings on farm, raise your hand.
That was in support of this idea.
If you
support.
So if you are in support of this changing, then you know what I mean.
If you can clarify, is that, are we voting that all buildings on front should be one story, single story buildings? Are we saying?
Yes.
We're voting on this specific instance.
So we're voting on whether or not, whether or not.
It's not that we're just doing a show of hands, there's no vote on an SAT.
Right,
So we're doing
right.
a show of hands on this specific application.
So whether or not we would support one building on top being one story and all the rest of the buildings could be 3 to 5 or 6 or whatever.
We're just voting on this.
We're not voting on anything else except this specific building. We can't say what's gonna happen with the other buildings.
But we're not voting on the building. Yes. Yes, 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 yes.
And we said, are we supporting this SAT?
Yeah.
The one story single use space bank on top?
Yes.
That is the question.
Who is in support, raise your hand. Or who wants to go on record as being for? Okay,
It's fine if you've always.
No, it's fine, there's no pressure, guys, this is just an opportunity. This is our way to share our comments. When we did Kroger, we did a big old spreadsheet, everybody got to fill it in. We don't have time to do that with this, but it was our way of being able to say, this is kind of percentages of what we heard, so that's what we're trying to do. Okay.
That's the,
And
who is not in
everybody
support.
is not in support of this FAC.
That wants to, yeah.
Not in support.
Okay, 35, any abstentions? I know we don't even believe in these numbers.
Two, one of two abstentions, three abstentions.
Do we have anyone here from the trade bank tonight?
No, and that's not required.
So, with FAPs, they don't have to come to the neighborhood, they don't have to talk to the neighborhood, they don't have to go to the view, they don't, there's none of that as part of this process.
We're merely given the opportunity to comment. That's all we're given, the opportunity to comment. And so we just tried to be sure that we were able to let y'all have a voice, knowing that some of y'all are more directly impacted than others and whatever. So we're trying to, we're not trying to back to death or anything else. We come out tonight and maybe you came for that reason. So we just want you to express yourself.
Okay, moving on.
So what else do you have?
Oh my God.
No, you don't either. Do you?
Neighborhood survey results. Does anyone here? So the Mo's application, a 63 content occurred. So that will be coming to us next. They're reworking. Neighborhood survey results, our neighborhood survey. You need them to be pulled up online.
Yeah, we pull up this survey. I sent a few slides I had on the last time as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so long.
I'm sorry, did you have a Robert? This is Robert Hamburger. Robert Hamburger is a plain old resident of Sunshine Island who volunteered to help tabulate the survey results and put them in a form that made them nice to see. I understand that there's also been a winner of the Paramount State.
Nobody saw that.
Did you announce a winner?
Oh, no.
So thank you, Robert, for
All right, thanks. I'll be super brief and for the sake of time, I know it's running late. This is a really interesting survey. And I'll give a quick overview of kind of the methodology and kind of the summary of the results. And then really turn it over to y'all to recommend go to the website, take a look sometime, look through all of the rich details. It's very interesting. The survey was sent out to the neighborhood via email. We got 136 respondents, so like I always caveat this kind of work, like it's not the entire neighborhood, but it is representative of the folks who did complete the survey. If you go to the PHNA.org website, you'll see the link to the full PDF, and you can see every response in detail. Just basic methodology, it's not a required survey. You filled out what you wanted to, what you didn't want to, so the total numbers don't always equal 136, it's what people thought of sharing their opinion on. We asked a number of questions about like where you were coming from, what's your relationship with the neighborhood. The majority were folks who own land or landowners within the neighborhood, about 70%. Another 25% were renters, so that's about the 70 and 25. But the two answers that came from folks who own businesses or landlords who don't actually live in the neighborhood. When we look at how long people who have filled out the survey, how long they've lived in the neighborhood, the majority, about 30%, lived from 3 to 5 years in the neighborhood. Although we have a very sizable representation, about 20% of folks who've lived here for over 20 years. You can see a word cloud, an open-ended question around like, why did folks decide to move into Posse Island? The word cloud kind of shows some keywords that were kind of straight from all the answers. People continuously talk about like, the location, the walkability, access to the Beltline, lots of comments about the walkability, and trees. Trees, parks, restaurants, and I would totally recommend taking a moment to go to the website and read through all the responses from everybody who submitted them. It's really interesting, and there's a lot of great stories from folks who've chosen to live here in Posse Island, which I won't read through. There's a lot. Same questions, same questions to the renters. Folks who are renting, the numbers skew a little bit differently. The majority, again, 3 to 5 years, but a little bit higher on folks who've been here between 0 and 2 years. When you compare like why renters decided here to live in Posse Island, again, you see a lot of similarity. Again, neighborhood, location, proximity to the Beltline, walkability. Great was a big word that showed up many times. Finally, ask a question around what is it that people love and try to kind of quantify what are the aspects of Posse Island that people really enjoy. The top 3 include the walkability, the proximity to the Beltline, proximity to restaurants, neighborhood restaurants, the trees, and then against the top 10, unique character, proximity to a lot of feedback about proximity, historic buildings, proximity to Freedom Park, and that small town feel and the diversity. Then I think the most important thing that really came out of what's important for Posse Island, the question was, it's important for Posse Island to do X. And when you look at the weighted averages, the top things that we collectively scored, number 1, raising funds to support neighborhood projects and maintain the neighborhood association comes in at a total score of 1.75. Afterwards, we see a pretty close race between actively reducing crime and public safety, conducting general monthly meetings to share information, and preserving historic buildings at 1.61. And I'm sorry, I completely missed the most important one, which was creating a strong identity for the neighborhood and a weighted average of 1.8. Many more questions that go through the survey. We asked questions around what contributes most to the character of Posse Island. The top score was iconic businesses and location to, number 1 was the people. Number 2 is the mix of historic and new single-family homes. Number 3 was tree-lined streets and bungalows with picture perfect. Finally, we asked the question of what changes would most improve Posse Island. The number 1 was fixing the sidewalks. The next couple answers were encouraging more unique local businesses, not chains. Adding traffic calming measures on interior residential streets lining North Avenue, preserving historic homes and buildings, and encouraging more neighborhood-oriented shops and businesses as from the survey, with a lot of open-ended responses that add both positively and add some concerns around this question. So that's the summary of the survey. All of the, like I said, all of the answers in full detail are available on PDF on the website. So with that said, as part of the neighborhood survey, we also had a drawing for a vacation for a vacation sponsored by the Claremont Hotel and Family Restaurant. Through a random survey, a random drawing of the folks who contributed to the survey, our winner is Hunter Burke. Anyone
know Hunter Burke? Let's don't tell him. We have the email address, so we'll get in touch. Thank you.
All right, excellent.
Thank you.
doing this, has been working with Lisa, and on our website. So, we have more new content there. So thanks to Robert for doing that. That's not his full-time job, but he's been giving us lots of hours to help make that happen. So, we appreciate that. Most of our website is what we want to be our primary way of communicating. So please just, look in it on your computer and go there. That's where we try to put anything, important things there so you can find it. Okay, I apologize. Oh Lord, it's late. I did want to give an update on the historic district planning tool conversation. Some of y'all were at a meeting last night, so bear with me because I want to keep repeating some of the same things because we keep hearing that I didn't hear that, so.
We'll talk about that. I heard about that meeting last night. I went back to all my emails, trying to find where it was mentioned. I'm sure it was mentioned someplace where some people showed up. We're gonna get there.
It's in the email, and the emails that come from the neighborhood association, it's also on Facebook and Netflix.
And on the
Yeah.
website, all the meetings are there on Friday.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
Yeah, so
I
sorry.
think it was the balance between trying to not send them an email to people that are like, oh, well, there's another email from Montana and then getting the word out.
Yeah, it might have just been me, but I was looking for an email.
Yeah.
After,
So-
trying to find it.
Okay,
So
yeah.
that's just one thing, make sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one thing to know is that it will always be on the website. We're trying to put a lot more content on the website so that when you go there, there's stuff to see. That wasn't always the case before. The website is a little more static. So if you're looking for the latest information, that's where it's going to be. So
Yeah, I was just asking, like, if you have any, if you look at the website and you see any kind of usability issues, like, please use the contact form on the website. That'll end up back at me, and we'll make sure that we keep addressing.
Thank you very
it's a
much.
work in progress.
So just quickly, and there's, like, again, I just want to keep repeating the same information because we keep saying, I hear people saying, I didn't know that, I didn't know that. The neighborhood association was started in 2002 as part of the Maynard Jackson's drive to have put an NPU process in place. That's what all this land use NPU talk has been about. A way for John T. Public and their neighborhood to be able to share their voice back to the city. So our neighborhood association was formed in 2002. As early as 2003, there were people like Anna Foote, who y'all doesn't know Anna, she's not my neighborhood now, but Anna was a large and in charge, great redhead, good. But since at least 2003, there's been conversation about our neighborhood planning and those sort of things. And in 2008, she finally was able to start raising money and with some other folks in the room. By 2009, with support from Ben Conza Hall, we were able to get enough funding to be able to do a master planning process. Jim McNeil was chair of that, and there will be others in the room that were involved. That happened in 2009. By the end of 2009, we as a neighborhood had voted, and then once anything is voted on, it kind of, like I say, it goes to the city to incubate because it has to go to city council, and then it goes to the mayor's office and that sort of thing. So it can take a couple of months. But the date is shown. If you ever look at our master plan, you can see it on the city's website. You can also see it via our website. It shows an April of 2010 adoption of the city. So our master plan was put together over that period of time, set forth what I say is two different specific pieces, which was what we wanted to happen so far as planning was concerned and what we wanted to see in our neighborhood so far as infrastructure issues. Our master plan has kind of sat around for about the past 9 or so years. Well, really not 9, I should say 9 years, but sat around for some years. We had it, we thought it'd be good for about 30 years, and being the 20 streets that we are, we didn't do a whole lot. But with, as y'all all know, the advent of Hunt City Market, the Beltline, and those sort of things, we have been the recipient of marvelous things. But one of those things is a lot of development pressure. So as been alluded to tonight with a couple of the things back in when we saw the Barker Plaza was being sold, we had a concern that it was an iconic property in our neighborhood. And so we reached out to the city to have a conversation about that, trying to express that we would love to be sure that it was safe. Then when 881 Ponce happened, again, we reached out to the city and we said, oh, please think about this. So Lisa and I, for a couple of years, have been talking about what could be done on the planning side, meeting with the city and everything. So in April this year, hopefully for those of y'all that do get our emails and do look at the website, we launched a project to determine how to re-jumpstart implementing our master plan. So at this point, I just want to, there again, get everybody up to date on, that was launched in April. On August the 21st, we had the working group that had been put in place, came with a recommendation, which was our August meeting, that we should work to implement our master plan, and that working group believed that the way to best implement our master plan, specifically speaking to land use recommendation, was to work with the city to use their historic preservation ordinance to write regulations that would be customized for our neighborhood. I can explain more of that, but I'm going to kind of keep rolling here because I know it's late and I'm happy to answer questions. That happened on August 21st, and based on that recommendation, a petition was filed with the city to begin that process of exploring a historic district for the neighborhood. All of y'all, as property owners, should have received a packet that was mailed from the city around August 29th. If you are a property owner, if you're a tenant, you would not have received it, but all property owners, which is about 850-ish, would have received a packet in the mail. The packet in the mail is thick and scary and whatever, but anyhow, the city's current process. That was filed, that was sent to everybody, and in anticipation of people receiving it, we had a meeting on September the 5th. The meeting on September the 5th was an opportunity for people to come, for us to explain what we knew about what the process would look like, how the neighborhood could and would work with the city to work through that exploration of what kind of customized zoning regulations we could write for our neighborhood that would allow us to possibly address some of these things, the things that were set forth in our master plan, and some specifics like, what would happen on Ponce de Leon. The heights on Ponce de Leon were set in our master plan at 3 to 4 stories, I believe, those sort of things. But with this customized zoning, we could even go back and reevaluate and determine maybe we want it a little bit higher now or whatever. Anyhow, those packets were received. The meeting was held on September the 5th, and to explain to people what was happening. And after the September the 5th, and we don't have a specific date, sorry, but after September the 5th, the neighborhood, we received an email from Doug Young, and he stated in it, Doug Young is the assistant director of the Office of Design and Historic Preservation. We received from him an email stating that the city, after careful consideration, felt that it was not in the best interest of the city to continue with the nomination process based on the application they had received, because what the city process requires is that a minimum of 10 property owners sign the petition. 10 people did sign. One person believed they were a property owner, but it turns out they were not. And so that was called to the city's attention, and therefore this is the reason for this wording from Doug, was that he did not believe the city's attorneys did not believe that we should continue, they should continue. It was not in the best interest of the process or the neighborhood, but he also goes on to state that the Office of Design would need to restart a nomination process based on the new property owner petition, new public notice, and new mailings. So that was the information that we knew as of Friday of last week, I believe, and I'm sorry, I can't see what that date is in my mind. That's what happened. We received that information, and but already had the meeting planned for last night, which was September the 17th. And the content of last night's meeting was for people to be able to come and hear the actual content of what a historic district would be. And we had Caleb Rassett, I say his name wrong, so I apologize. But Caleb Rusko that developed with us and worked with Jim and everything with our master plan 10 years ago, was consulting with us and came to the meeting last night and made a presentation using our master plan to remind everyone of what choices were made and decisions were made by the neighborhood back in '09. And so the presentation was made, and then he spoke to us about planning and zoning and options that we could have if we had, in his mind and opinion, used the historic preservation ordinance to move forward with zoning. There again, the meeting last night was already planned, so we went ahead and had it, hoping that people could get some information because, as I say, that packet is kind of hard to sift your way through, and we do want people to understand the reasons that there are people in the neighborhood that was in or were in favor of it. So that happened last night. The meeting did last night. So at this point, that's what I know about what's happened with the process. I do know that there's going to be someone that might ask a question about a new petition and what that might look like, because we do know that there are people in the neighborhood that are interested in pursuing this. And so at this point, I can ask Jim McMail, who knows more than I do, to maybe give an update on an answer to that question, if you'd like to.
Yeah, sure. When I found out on Friday that the petition was one signature short, I volunteered to go around and get a new petition filed. And so I did, I went house to house, and I got 21 signatures from people in the neighborhood and verified that they were homeowners and on the deed. And some other signatures were collected from another person in the neighborhood. So there was a total of 30 signatures that have been submitted to the city as of yesterday. I handed them to Doug Young, and he said he would take them yesterday.
So that is, thank you for sharing that, because I'm not involved or whatever, but I'm glad to know, because I did know there were people in the neighborhood that are interested. Next question could be, so what's next? I don't know the exact answer. Obviously, there are people in the neighborhood that are interested in pursuing and moving forward with some process. The neighborhood association board members here, we've had discussion about this. Our role, we have since for forever, we are seen as the leadership of the neighborhood. Our goal is to do what's in the best interest of the neighborhood. Knowing we had a master plan, what we were suggesting was that we should explore whatever strengthens and supports our neighborhood. So going forward, we want to be a part of helping to facilitate a conversation about this and working with the interested parties. The reason I'm equivocating is that the city has to talk to us. Just because a petition is filed, it's not, I mean, that triggers something, but I can't tell you exactly some timeline for what it might trigger. I can't answer that question. So I can't sit here now and go, okay, by this date, this is going to happen or could happen or this sort of thing. So all I can do is inform you about what I know now. We will be in touch. I understand that Doug is not off at a conference or something. So I don't anticipate being able to talk to him, or that he's going to reach out to us anytime in the next few days. There again, I would say that we would use our website and emails. As soon as we know anything, we will share information back out to everyone. I'd be happy to take any brief questions. There again, I try to share as much as I know. If there's someone who knows more than that, whatever, but we do want to be open, transparent. There again, we want to support the neighborhood. And so, yes, promise.
I was wondering if
Sure. We'd love to have business owners, property owners, renters, everyone, commercial property owners. We'd love to. If you signed in, did you sign in the sheet? Yes, sign in if you would, because we pick up the new people off of that sign-in sheet. So we will definitely pick you up that way. And you can also go to our website, once again, montyhighlands.org, and there's a way for you to sign in there too. A vote on what? Big question. Well, I think I know what your question is. With the historic application, or with an application to the city on such as this, it follows the same NPU process. So the vote happens once the exploration is done. So if the neighborhood were to continue through a process, then the vote would happen at the end. The neighborhood would have an opportunity to see, okay, this is what the neighbors in the neighborhood have met at meetings, worked on these regulations, because the current regulations that exist out there are thrown out and new regulations are put in place. The neighborhood has to write those. So those would get written. The neighborhood would have the opportunity to help write them, and then would also vote on them. And then once the neighborhood votes, then it continues through the NPU process to go to the NPU process, which for us is N, and then go over to the city.
Now, I heard the neighborhood
Not the petition, I'm sorry, the process of, at the end, no, the petition, once again, and you can go online, go online to Urban Design Commission, and it states that in order to start a exploration of a historic district for a community or a street or whatever, it doesn't have to be a whole neighborhood, it takes 10 property owners. That's the threshold, 10 property owners.
10% or 10 property owners.
So there's no vote, it's just all the cities saying, if there's that many people that are interested in something, we'll have a conversation.
It doesn't mean they try to process it.
Right. So there's been no vote, but there would be one at the end. Okay, any other questions? I'm sorry.
For the vote at the end, who is allowed to vote? Is it only residential homeowners, is it the neighborhood, is it business owners? How does that work?
Our bylaws state that for land use matters, which is what it would be, a land use matter, that, oh Lord, am I smart enough to answer your question? That for land use matters, the people that can vote are property owners and residents. So if you're a tenant in the neighborhood, or you own property and live in the neighborhood, you can vote.
What about if you own commercial property?
If you own commercial property, regretfully, our bylaws do not allow that person to vote.
So is that something unique to Concord Island or
No.
not?
That is not.
So, and the reason I ask is just because a lot of what we think of is these historic neighborhoods, the commercial district acts as like a part of the main street.
Totally agree.
So you think that,
Yes,
that
totally agree.
business owners would have a voice?
EL can speak to that, because I'm not going to put him on the spot, but EL was on the board with me a couple of years ago, and he and I tried real hard to get our bylaws changed so that business owners would have a vote. Our current bylaws do not allow it. I would think, and that I can tell you what we did with Bonaventure Somerset, and there might not be some people that agree with this in here, but my thought is that it's good for everybody to get an opportunity to express themselves. Is that when we did Bonaventure Somerset with the historic district, just the 2 streets down there, we had set a precedent where a residential property owner who was a non-resident, so someone owned property in the neighborhood but did not live here, and we had set a precedent because of something that happened somewhere else in the neighborhood. We let them vote one time, so we were like, we're not going to, take somebody's vote away from them on something like this. So we did allow those people to vote. There again, the bylaws do not state that, but I think that would be what I would suggest is that we allow people, and we can share those votes that way.
That's what other neighborhoods have done in this instance, like coming up to
Yeah.
when you take the vote from
Right.
the bylaws. But then you can also
Yes.
poll everybody at that
Right.
meeting who made the commercial
There
property.
you go.
And all of those votes,
Our count.
they're just, the votes are recommendations
Right.
that are then conveyed to NPUN,
Right.
which helps NPUN make
Right.
this vote, which is a recommendation conveyed up to the zoning review board, which is then a recommendation taken to city council.
Yes.
So I think and this is what other neighborhoods have done, kind of,
Yes.
it's like, yeah, we kind of want maybe a bigger input
Right.
on the bylaws. Well, take the vote by your bylaws, and then you take the others. And it's a matter of kind of saying to the city, we're polling as many people as we can. And certainly in the process itself, everybody is encouraged
Yes.
to participate in the process. So
Yes.
as a commercial property owner, as a renter, there were
Business
people
owner,
in
yeah.
the meeting last night who, the property in the
so you make two excellent points, and Chris was our MPUN chair for bunches of years, and finally said, yoo-hoo, so he knows how this works, but there again, we know that there are other neighborhoods, we've looked, there are other neighborhoods that are like us, the businesses that, or commercial property owners do not have a vote, but I'm totally in lockstep with what Chris is suggesting. We want people to be able to express themselves. So, and then the other piece, the other.
I just added the bylaws, which one of the neighborhoods on the FAQs on the website, if you want to go on the period too, like how, so there are a lot of them that don't allow, some of them don't allow, they do them on.
So there are, you know, there's that piece. The other piece that, just to be sure everybody hears that Chris commented on is, and we say that, and I'm not sure if we said it tonight, it's on the ballot, but the NPU process was put in place. We talk about voting. It's not like we go to the polls and you vote thing for this or thing for that. It's not, it's a support of or a non-support of. And we're merely passing that along through the process. Okay? Yes, right, recommendation. So it's not a yes, I mean, we kind of in our minds think of it as a yes, no. I just want to be sure everybody realizes that when it gets to the city looks at it, they want to take it into consideration. Sometimes maybe they take it into consideration more, sometimes less. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, we pass it up, you know, that's what we do. And so I don't want y'all to go, well, what the what? You know, we know what our vote was, and that still had that happen. So just know that, okay? So, Jim.
I just want to make sure, Tom, you got your question answered. You feel like you got your question answered?
Yeah.
No, the petition. We want to know if there was a vote on the petition.
I think it's more, I just want to make sure, everyone's sort of informed about this, so it's before.
Yes, and that was part of the process that we put in place. And working with Caleb, we had set up, and with Doug also from the city, was we had worked with them to figure out what a timeline would be that would allow enough meetings with the neighborhood. Caleb does this, for those of y'all that were there last night, heard him say, he does this not only here in Atlanta area with Chamblee and Roswell and all that, but does it nationally. So he knows how this works. We thought it would take more meetings, but anyhow, we set up those meetings that were on the original timeline that we shared so that people would have the opportunity. And it's a case of starting at kind of ground zero and then working your way up and so we can work. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, so you asked a question about, was there a vote to start the process? And the answer to that is no. And the reason that the answer to that is no is, as Beth had explained, I'll summarize, until we have an application, land use is not brought into, land use doesn't do anything. The neighborhood does not do anything. The neighborhood organization does nothing until we have an application. On this particular situation with the petition, any 10 homeowners and any 10 property owners, doesn't have to be a single family homeowner, it could be a business owner, a property owner, it could be a condo owner, anyone who owns property in the neighborhood, any 10 people can initiate that petition with the blessing of the neighborhood association or without the blessing of the neighborhood. So they can just get 10 signatures of property owners and take that down to the city and say, we want to explore, we're interested in exploring what a historic district might be like for our neighborhood. So that's really why there was no vote. I just want to make sure that that's provided. Okay.
And that's what happened with
Bonaventure
and Somerset. Bonaventure and Somerset, it had nothing to do with the board or anything like that. It was just started with the concern of residents on Bonaventure.
That file the petition, what you're saying, yeah.
Just to think about, I think it made it clear, just so everybody understands the point. My understanding is the neighborhood association, I have two things. The neighborhood association doesn't necessarily oppose the petition that's going down there, doesn't necessarily support the petition that's going down there. The neighborhood association is neutral about it. It has no position about the petition that's been delivered by the home. I just want to make sure that that was clear to everybody that there is no support or there is no opposition, either one, for the petition that's been filed by these 30 or so, I don't know what, individuals that are now, that's the way it looks right now. And then later there'll be a vote, and until there's a vote on the neighborhood association, if there hasn't been a vote, can't express that there's any support or opposition to it, because there hasn't been a vote on the neighborhood association. That there either is support on or not either way. And then the other thing is just in the I guess the request for working together and transparency. I'm hoping that this petition will be posted on a website or Facebook or something more, so that everybody can take a look at it, so that we can share and know what's going on. It's obviously done in the city. Sometimes the city is very quick with information, sometimes they're not. So it'll be, I think, really helpful that information can be posted on the Facebook page or somewhere else, so that everybody can see that petition and know what it's all about.
Okay.
I don't think we're gonna use Facebook as our primary way of communicating, because that's what we're on Facebook. I think there are a lot of people who aren't on Facebook, so we're trying to use the website as a way to communicate.
It goes out there tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't have a copy.
Okay. I got you. And if we will do anything we can. I think I understood totally what you were saying, and just to dovetail on that, the neighborhood association its interest is into facilitating discussions and conversations within neighbors that help strengthen our neighborhood, to build up our neighborhood. So that's what we want to be doing. So we want to facilitate that, but we do not, we're not telling somebody one thing or the other. And I think that's what EO was saying. I just want to reiterate that. Gigi, did you have your hand up?
I did. I wanted to mention that, whatever mechanism we use for the last packet of influence control, it did not work well because there was nothing to make it across the street from houses. They had no idea. They didn't get the packet. We went to try to explain what was going on. So on Sunday, they just, for how long, they didn't know anything else.
They're on Brian or the meeting outside. They did get the packet.
So the way the city gets information is they pull the tax records, and their number, when they said how many they mailed to, was different than mine. Number they mailed to more people than I got. I pulled the same. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but and sometimes the city records haven't been updated with sales. And then I know one couple who thought they didn't get the packet, and they found this staff mail. It was in a plain vanilla envelope that didn't say the city. But if you know of anybody, it was actually on their staff there. They were like, we didn't get it either. And I was like, really? Then she found it in the staff. So if you know of anybody who didn't receive the packet, that means there was some problem with the address. So please send me an email, and I'll send it to the city if they want to do on the site. Once again.
But the city pulled the.
So we don't have control over the city.
Wait a minute. Gigi, say what you're saying so we can hear.
Whether it's flyers that goes back to every house or something else like that, just go through the basics and everybody listens to the
And that's a great idea. You're right. And the city has its process. We try to dovetail with it. I think your idea of a flyer is great. There was a thought of mailing people a letter, hey, this is a letter. And then people said nobody will open it. And then we were like, we've got these large buildings that have so many people in them. So maybe it's not a one size fits all kind of way of getting people. So, any ideas people have about how we can notify, and that's the reason we had that meeting on September the 5th. The objective was to be able to be there to try to answer questions once you get it. But, if there's people that are willing to help with snail mail or walking the streets or whatever.
Give us your ideas about how we can reach people.
A couple of points, hey, thank you guys, you guys do volunteer work, so thank you, for the work you do. It's easy for us to criticize and say you meant to do that, and that should not be one way or another, but it's been a lot of things for me. But I'm saying, neighbors, you can can reach out to your fellow neighbors and say, hey, listen, I got a packet, you should come to these meetings and be a part of the neighborhood. And I think the transparency stuff, a lot of communication stuff is resolved by just being neighborly, going out and reaching out to your neighbors. A lot of people don't use Facebook, they should use online. A lot of people use media, a lot of people don't, like Robert, thank you for the website, Lisa, amazing. But at the same time, these meetings that you have set up are very, very important because if you don't like it as part of the working group, the Jim did that, Robert did that, we swallowed a lot of information, a lot of it, and it's up there on this site. But until you come together as a neighborhood, like we did last night, like really talk about it, Caleb, talk about it, it's crucial. So, I mean.
And to that, thank you for that. To that, there again, if we have thoughts, another one of our thoughts was, and we tried to make happen, but we couldn't. We talked about the neighbor to neighbor idea, that if we have people on every street that would agree to try to get their neighbors together to have a conversation. So we're open to all of those ways of people reaching out. It's just, we do need manpower. So depending on once we have something from the city to even think about what's happening and start doing that, we'll find a way to put on the website and send an email, hey, you want to volunteer for these various ways, and then also send any suggestions, because it would be excellent. The whole idea was for neighbors to be talking to neighbors, working together, because this is not something that you create in a vacuum. The city, and this is something that I didn't say earlier and I should have, I commented about the fact that Lisa and I have been talking to the city for a couple of years now. And in our conversations with the city, what we learned was that they, and Caleb mentioned it last night, the city is talking about doing a zoning rewrite. The zoning rewrite would be something that could happen within the next 3 years, possibly. I understand. I know. It's always. But in talking to the city, and we worked on Bonsam, in having all that conversation, we said, well, hey, what if the rest of the neighborhood, because there were neighbors in the rest of the neighborhood that knew what we did at Bonaventure, Somerset, and they were like, we need to talk about this. And we were like, well, we don't know what the city's going to say. So anyhow, we went to the city. The point I'm trying to get to is we met with Tim Keene, Kieta Holmes, and Doug Young. We talked about what we thought would benefit our neighborhood, even though we're 20 streets, knowing that what happened to Bonaventure, Somerset. In that conversation, Tim Keene said to us, please, we know that we're hoping to have a zoning rewrite, but we don't know when that's going to actually happen. And the fact is that with the current zoning that exists is a cookie cutter. It's a one-size-fits-all. People in the room that have expertise as architects and other things know that. And same thing for the guy here making the presentation earlier. It's cookie cutter. What we have the opportunity, and the reason that this is something that I am excited about personally, I'm not saying that's what happened, I'm just saying I'm excited about us exploring is that this is customized zoning. So we can take our master plan, which states certain things about Ponce and North Highland and residents and all of that. We can take that as our jumping off point, and we can write regulations that we feel like really build and maintain the neighborhood we want with the character that we currently have while allowing development and growth. This is not a Druid Hills kind of situation. This is not an Inland Park, which was done in 2002 situation. This is not mothball. I call it business in the front, party in the back. Now that might be misleading, but the point is, if anyone's read Bonaventure, Somerset, it allows great flexibility. The city has said to us, we want to do something new, and if you guys will work with us. So they are excited about that, we're excited about this. I'm not saying just because we are, it makes it right. That's not my point. My point is, I think we have a great opportunity to explore something that's never been done, and that's why, we would like to continue if the neighborhood, if that's the neighborhood's will.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that, for me personally, I'm very excited about it. Having been in the neighborhood since 2002, being the chairperson of the master plan committee, being chair of land use before Lisa, having to deal with just constantly dealing with variances, the kind of variance that we had here tonight, where you think you address the issues and then you bring it before the neighborhood and it blows up, and I don't think anybody anticipated that to blow up the way that it did. And I think, and when we as a neighborhood look at what the city is offering us the opportunity to do with this district, you take the word historic off of there, which everyone gets freaked out about, and you replace that with character, and you say what we really want is a character district, and what the city is really offering us is a character district. It's not a, like that's a mothball situation. There's great flexibility that we can write into these codes. We can take your roof off and do a second story addition as long as it meets the compatibility norms. So what is that compatibility? If that's what people want. You know, you could say, well, no, I don't want anyone to be able to do that. But that's a conversation that we have to have as a neighborhood. And I think, you know, that started last night, and that was a great meeting, and I wish more people could have been there. And I know Tuesday night can be very difficult for a lot of people. I hope that when the new packet arrives, we can have a second meeting like that on a weekend, and maybe we can poll the neighborhood and say, hey, when is the most number of people available on is it a Friday night? Is it Saturday morning? Is it Saturday afternoon? Is it Sunday? What is it? I think if a lot of people could have made the meeting last night, the general consensus in that room from the people I was around was, wow, this is great. I was picturing this, you know, historic district where I wouldn't be able to do anything. And, you know, people just seem to walk out of the room feeling much more lighthearted and excited and wanting to come together and work together. And so I just hope people will give this the opportunity that it deserves, because if you've served on any of these committees, it is exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting to constantly try and stop this development from doing something that we know is bad, and trying to help this person do something that's going to be the best thing. And you have people who want to do that, but then you also have people who don't, and they absolutely are going to exploit the weaknesses in the current zoning. The current zoning does not fit our neighborhood. It is absolutely completely written for suburban development. And we're not a suburban neighborhood. Our lots are much narrower than what the zoning is created for. And it doesn't fit the businesses. It doesn't fit the business property owners either. So we have an opportunity to work with property owners who own homes, who own businesses, to come together and have a very customized, very unique district that is absolutely just for Compton Highland, and it's not for Virginia Highland, and it's not for whatever. Fill in the other neighborhood, it's just for Compton Highland, because we are unique.
Thank you, Jenna. I think it's a design management tool is what we have to think of rather than an historic district, but we have to use the historic preservation ordinance to get it in place. And Jim, just really quick, I know we're all getting super tired, I'm exhausted, like it's too much for me this week, the landing applications and all that. It's a design management tool with a lot of flexibility, implementing new ideas for the city. It's an exciting thing to explore, and just because we explore it doesn't mean anything gets implemented through the process. It's something that our neighborhood needs to look at, and I encourage everyone, when you start the process at the meeting, that's the best way to do is through your participation and help you create it. I know everyone's really tired, and I know I would like to get out of here. Do we have any other questions that are different?
I have a question. I'm going to ask the people now. Let's go back now. And you pointed to it. Before you go through the whole exploration, I want to ask 900 people to get this vote. Is there anything about this that you might want?
So, well, we don't know.
We don't know yet, that's why you gotta go through it.
But an opinion on what is the problem, Jerry? Like, what would be
Whether
the
they even want it at all.
Yeah, that's a brief.
But we don't know until we go through this exploration. We may all decide to be dumbfounded.
Is there a mechanism? Is there a non-vote on the field about the process of what? Is there some mechanism that we can, it's not a vote. It's just like what you're saying is not, there's nothing to vote. But it makes, I'm gonna just say that. I don't agree with it.
Can I?
I think, when you just, yeah, I don't think I agree with you. But I think you
a new packet is going to get made. So we are going to enter another 180-day period. That's going to happen. So,
Possible, I mean, the city has to decide.
right, but we've been told that they want to restart the process and that they are willing to do it. So they are willing to go through the process again, to send the mailer out and start the process over. So, whether we say yes or no, that process is started. Okay, so, and then the second thing is, I think if we're going to do a show of hands or some kind of, representation, I think the question is, does the current zoning work for our neighborhood? That's the question.
No. I think the survey actually was a lot to do with that. If you look at the results from that, it was a great way that the board took a non-position and said, hey, you guys tell us what you like. And if you go through and read that, you will see a lot of support for what the historic district is doing. So that is.
Wait a minute, guys.
Support for historic preservation, which
Sure.
I think all of us might want on the, but you don't necessarily know be for or a historic.
That's because people don't.
Wait,
That's
wait,
because
wait.
people don't
Yes,
understand.
yes. So, yeah, I disagree with that, because a lot of the questions on the survey, the walkability is deserved by putting design controls in place. And the word historic is not necessarily what we're trying to do. It's a design management tool, and it works on walkability, it works on affordable housing in some ways, it works on retaining character, it works on the other
Is there a reason you didn't say
retaining culture.
historic district in the survey? Why, is there a reason you avoided that language?
No, I took the language from other surveys that have been done.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
just need to say this, I think the thing to remember is this was started from a petition, as Jim has stated twice now, I think, a petition from concerned homeowners. It had nothing to do with the board and the association, because it had to be started from the homeowners that were concerned about it. So I don't think a vote is appropriate. I mean,
I agree, you're following the process.
yeah, I mean, it was homeowners
Well,
that were.
yeah.
Doesn't matter.
But
Yeah.
there's some also-
It's hard to
Yeah.
explain
Well, like,
today whether the
Yeah.
that's the board.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
But the
That's
board
fine.
is
Okay.
facilitating.
Okay. When, okay, I do not want to stop conversation. I would love, I love the fact that everybody's been participating. I do believe, my understanding is that the petition is not to be stopped by any support or non-support that's here. So it's not, we can vote and get upset with each other about how many people or whatever, but it's not going to, we won't have anything to do with that because that petition exists. So I don't think that that's a way for us to address it.
And if there's a process, the neighborhood needs to be involved in it, right?
So I'm gonna say a couple quick things. I'm changing subjects, so I'm sorry. Just for a few reminders on dates. Lantern Parade is Saturday the 21st. Go out. Also on Saturday, October the 5th, Trees Atlanta has their annual plant sale. Please go support them. They're fabulous in our neighborhood. They come, as he mentioned, Greg is in the neighborhood. He plants our trees, he keeps our canopy going.
At the Freedom Farmers.
Peachy Queen is on October the 12th. Please sign up for that. Our next general membership on just next general meeting is October 16th here in the Highland Ballroom. And then also the Kroger will open that day. So you got a 2 for that day. Thank y'all so much. Please go to the website because you can send in anything you want to through it.